they didn't stand a chance. Not against the executioner of Khorne. Skulltaker arrived as a crimson storm. His juggernaut's hooves splitting the frost-hardened earth, while the marrow-chewer tribe formed a living rampart of muscle and iron to bar his path. The ogres, gluttonous giants, famed for their toughness, they had sent out their strongest tyrant and warrior ogres. Their tyrant, a hulking brute crowned with trophies of previous conquests, strode forward swinging his massive maul, bellowing for single combat. Skulltaker answered swiftly, dispatching the massive ogre tyrant with quick swings of his demonic blade. Panic rippled through the ranks, yet the tribe's butchers and bruisers charged ahead, hurling boulders and thick crossbow bolts that clanged harmlessly from Skulltaker's brazen plate. One by one, the giants fell. Hamstrings parted, great necks opened like burst wineskins, each death punctuated by the crack of a skull torn free. By dusk, only the winter wind moved among the heaps of hacked limbs and crushed torsos. Skulltaker stood alone, his crimson armor steaming in the cold, the last marrow-chewer trophy still dripping in his gauntlet's grasp. A fresh offering for the ever-hungering throne of Khorne. On that day, the executioner of Khorne had scoured the tribe from existence, single-handedly. Become the ultimate champion as you battle in fast-paced strategic combat in the 41st millennium with Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, today's video sponsor. The officially licensed strategy game that lets you field over 80 champions drawn from 18 iconic factions. Build the strike force that suits your style, then test it in story campaigns, live events, PvP skirmishes, and epic guild raids. The developers keep the battlefield fresh with regular updates, new champions, and seasonal celebrations. This month's highlight is the arrival of the Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's own elite guardians. These indomitable melee specialists headline 3 back-to-back events: Watchers of the Throne, the Trajan Valoris legendary event, and the release of Aethoth Kumadra. Ready to join the fight? Download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for free today using the link or QR code on screen, and enter the bonus code to claim 2,000 gold and 50 Blackstones, but only for a limited time. So assemble your champions, master your tactics, and we'll see you on the battlefield. Thanks again to Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for supporting the channel. In the endless chronicles of horror penned within the Collegiate Arcane, few inspire as much awe and terror as the one about Skulltaker. Draped in a cloak of severed skulls, he moves from realm to realm as Khorne's chosen butcher, challenging any champion bold enough or foolish enough to meet his crimson blade.
Champions of stunted mortals! Why sacrifice your chanceless servants when you can meet me on the front line? Are you not worthy?
The grim legends tell that no fortress gate, no dragon's lair, and no royal court can spare its bravest son or daughter once the Skulltaker's shadow falls across their threshold. The horned creature is said to be amongst the greatest of Khorne's demonic champions, a being seemingly unstoppable, whose only purpose is to claim the skulls of the mightiest warriors for the Blood God.
This world has many champions. But to be the greatest of all, one must forge their legacy in the fires of chaos. Many worthy heroes have fallen before him. Their skulls, trophies, woven into the fabric of his cape, each bestowing him with the power of a champion's essence. For he is Skulltaker, champion of champions, collector of souls. His destiny beckons, blood for the Blood God.
As a demon, Skulltaker embodies Khorne's unyielding fury and martial pride. He strides through battle with absolute confidence. When the crimson-skinned demon takes the field, warriors speak of a hush that precedes him, an oppressive pause before the clash, as though every beating heart waits to be weighed. A slow turn of his horned helm is challenge enough. Those brave or reckless enough to meet his gaze find themselves drawn into single combat, for the Skulltaker does not squander time on rank and file, but seeks champions instead, mighty warriors whose defeat in the spilling of their blood will glorify Khorne. Legends say that once blades cross, the demon fights with brutal and cold precision rather than blind fury. He already knows the weaknesses of his enemies. Then begins a grim dissection. Hamstrings parted, shield arms broken, knees smashed to force an opponent onto the ground, where their pride must be swallowed. Those who dare to stand before him are dispatched with methodical brutality. He renders them incapable of fighting back, or even moving, savoring their agony. And only when his victim lies broken does he utter the 8 words of sacrifice, immolating flesh in demonic fire, until nothing remains but bone. But what are these 8 words of sacrifice that the creature utters as a ritual? Scholars and professors from across the mortal world cannot seem to reach an agreement on this. The ritual's true power lies in its mystery and the dread it inspires. Only the most favored of Khorne's champions are said to know the specific words, and they are spoken in the dark tongue, a language of the warp itself, lost to mortal understanding. Thus, the 8 words of sacrifice remain a secret, their meaning and utterance reserved for the red rituals of the Skulltaker. After that, with a practiced wrench, he finally twists the skull of his fallen enemy free. Black smoke curling from empty eye sockets. This grisly trophy he hangs upon the ragged mantle of crania that drapes his shoulders, each honored dead said to lend him a fragment of its former owner's strength. Though the demon's sack overflows with lesser skulls, he values only those claimed from kings, warlords, and living legends. Such vaunted prizes remain at his side, shielding him with eldritch warding runes etched into the cracked bone. By contrast, the countless unworthy skulls, thralls, foot soldiers, and pretenders, are delivered to the brass citadel and nailed along its parapets, their empty eyes watching for eternity, the paths that lead to Khorne's throne. When no further adversary steps forward, Skulltaker mounts Kultiran, his iron-shod juggernaut, and departs as abruptly as he arrived, continuing his hunt for more worthy opponents. We will talk further about this monstrous mount that the demon rides later in this video. But for now, let's explore how the mighty executioner, known as Skulltaker, came to be one of Khorne's favorite champions. According to Forbidden Chronicles, Skulltaker's story begins not as a demon, but as a mortal warlord whose ferocity drew Khorne's gaze. In ancient days, a mighty Kurgan chieftain named Virkos rose to power among the Dolgan tribe of the far north. A warlord of immense martial skill, Virkos united disparate warbands under his banner and led them in conquest against the rival empire of the Tall. Hundreds of chieftains fell to Virkos's axe, each defeat swelling his army with new blood-hungry followers. His campaigns cut a swath of carnage across the steppes, until at last Virkos met an adversary equal to his wrath, the great Tong Khagan, Teogte, one of the mightiest warlords of the age. When they met in single combat, the rival warlord wielded a fearsome demon blade called Blood Eater, and with this cursed weapon, he struck down Virkos. After his defeat, the Kurgan warlord was captured and impaled atop an iron spike, a cruel trophy for the Khagan's victory, and a showcase to his followers and would-be challengers, a cautionary tale. For days, Virkos hung in agony, refusing to beg for death, despite enduring unimaginable pain. Instead, he was consumed by undying hatred, abandoned beneath the pitiless northern sky. Virkos's flesh shriveled and cracked. Yet the embers of his rage refused to gutter out. Incredibly, Virkos found a way to escape and tore himself from that place. Inch by excruciating inch, he dragged himself off the spike. With agony and pain, he escaped, crawling into the wastelands, his entrails dragging behind him, until he reached an old demon forge, its bronze vents still coughing warp fire from wars long forgotten by mortals. Inside the furnace's crimson glow, a shackled demon, yearning to taste vengeance, hissed forbidden promises into the dying warlord's ear. With nothing left but hate within him, Virkos accepted. Hellflame knitted torn sinew to brass plate, searing his ruinous body into a living suit of armor, while a sword, black as an eclipse, settled into his gauntleted hands. When the forge finally fell silent, a new terror stepped from the coals. Ujul, the Skulltaker, Khorne's walking challenge. From that moment onward, he has judged every opponent by a single proof of worth: the wet crack a skull makes when torn free of its spine. The saga of Skulltaker's early exploits is told in hushed tones around campfires and in hidden libraries alike. It is said that he slew the two-headed chaos dragon Shanith, placing its sundered, bleeding twin skulls at the foot of Khorne's brass throne as an offering. The two-headed dragon was but one of his many worthy killings that marked his ascension as Khorne's executioner. Years later, after carving his bloody reputation across countless battlefields, Skulltaker's steps eventually led him back to the empire of the Tong, back to Teogte Kagan, the foe who had once laid him low. With time, Kagan had grown complacent behind his armies and vassal tribes, but no tribe or nation could bar Skulltaker's path. None could stand against him, not the craftiest Hung, the strongest Kurgan, or even the most monstrous beastman, one chronicle recounts. The warrior demon cut through entire armies as though slaughtering feeble and weak men, until the great Kagan himself was forced to ride out and face Khorne's champion in person once again. So it came to be that the Skulltaker and Teogte met in a final duel of titans. Their battle, it is written, raged for days without pause, a whirlwind of clashing steel. In the end, Skulltaker buried his hell-forged blade into Teogte's heart, mortally wounding the mighty warlord. But in this dying stroke, the still mighty Kagan struck back with the dreaded Blood-Eater's sword, impaling Skulltaker through the belly. Yet what should have been the Skulltaker's death became only a momentary banishment. The blessings of Khorne would not permit his ultimate destruction. Virkos's corporeal form was annihilated in the duel, but his hateful spirit, sustained by Khorne's will, merely returned to the realm of chaos to bide its time. The Skulltaker was not finished. Centuries later, he manifested once again in the mortal world, this time to utterly annihilate the legacy of the Kagan once and for all. One by one, he hunted down the Kagan's heirs and successors, offering each of their skulls to the same infernal forge that had rebirthed him long ago. With each sacrifice, his power grew, his rage grew, as well as his hunger for more blood, until at last the vengeance was complete. The very homeland of the Tong was swallowed into Khorne's domain, torn out of the mortal realm by the offerings of skulls. In reward for this colossal act, Khorne elevated his champion to an even greater stature. Virkos was granted full ascension to demonhood, emerging in a terrifying new form, resembling a colossal bloodletter, clad in hellish armor and draped in a cloak of countless skulls. Thus the man who was once called Virkos vanished forever, and Skulltaker was reborn as an undying demon prince, one of Khorne's mightiest exalted servants. Among the frostbitten fastnesses where the Ulvag clans pitch their hide tents. Grizzled skulls still murmur of the night Skulltaker came stalking through the snow, drawn by rumors of a Slaneshi fiend known only as the Sinstealer, a lurking horror that seduced warriors with velvet promises before draining away their courage and souls. The demon's lair, a labyrinth of shimmering ice caverns pulsing with lurid pink light, reeked of perfume and rot when the executioner arrived, his juggernaut's hooves cracking the frozen ground. There, beneath spires of crystal warped by unholy sorcery, crimson met amethyst. The Sinstealer's serpent whip of glimmering bliss snapped against Skulltaker's blade in a duel so violent that shards of ice vaporized into steaming mist. Witnesses hiding in the drifts swear that even the northern lights dimmed when the final blow fell. Skulltaker wrenching the demon's head clean off while banishing its essence, howling back into the warp. A sentence that is said to last an entire millennium. The story endures, not merely because it chilled every Ulvag heart, but because it proved that Skulltaker will turn his wrath on any creature, mortal or demon, that dares harvest worthy skulls before he can claim them for Khorne.
Today, his eye is on you. Show him prowess!
Collegiate is the name of the infamous juggernaut that sometimes thunders beneath Skulltaker's iron-shod boots. Though the champion normally strides into battle alone, there are occasions when he summons this beast of living brass and murder to bear him. Spawned in Khorne's internal forges, Collegiate earned a black legend even before it felt Skulltaker's heel. It broke more skulls in the stockade than any juggernaut before or since, pacing the pens with murderous intent, and once smashing through the enclosure wall before a dozen heralds dragged it back in chains. Skulltaker chose this monster the moment it speared 3 of those same heralds on its adamantine horn, judging the spectacle a fitting omen for what was to come. Since that day, demon and rider have burst from the warp together, carving a red path across countless worlds. While Skulltaker's Slayer's sword severs the heads of kings in a single smoking stroke, Collegiate savages plate mail as if it were candle wax, and rends flesh to drifting ash. So delighted is the blood god with their rampages, that within the realm of chaos, Collegiate is the only juggernaut allowed to roam the soot-choked corridors of the Brass Citadel, a singular honor for unrestrained slaughter. Most renowned of all Skulltaker's battles is his confrontation with Sigmar, the legendary founder of the Empire. Imperial scriptures relate how Skulltaker appeared during Sigmar's great wars against chaos, eager to claim the skull of a demigod among men. For 3 days and 3 nights, the Emperor fought the demon in the high passes of the World's Edge Mountains, neither yielding an inch. On the 3rd night, Sigmar's might proved just enough to strike Skulltaker down, an act so momentous that it remains the only recorded defeat the Skulltaker has ever suffered. Though banished and wounded, Skulltaker survived the encounter, as his immortality is assured by Khorne's dark blessing. But the creature carries a jagged scar from Sigmar's mighty warhammer to this day. Ever since, the legendary demon has harbored a special enmity for the Empire. It is said that he takes great pleasure in slaughtering Sigmar's descendants whenever the Blood God's armies invade the lands of men. From the icy halls of Bretonia's northern frontiers to the choking deserts beyond Cathay, the shadow of the Skulltaker has fallen across every corner of the mortal world, leaving behind ruin and the hush of cowed survivors. Kings, dragons, tyrants, demons, each has learned that titles and legends melt away beneath the cold precision of his blade and the trampling fury of Kul Tiran's charge. Yet despite the mountains of skulls already piled before the brass citadel, Skulltaker's hunger remains unstilled. For with every worthy head claimed, he believes he draws closer to martial perfection. Assemble your champions, master your tactics, and we'll see you on the battlefield. Download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for free today, using the link or QR code on screen, and enter the bonus code to claim 2,000 gold and 50 Blackstones, but only for a limited time. Thanks again to Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for supporting the channel.